My channel and to today's video, which is going to be a reading vlog. I'm really excited to film this. It's been a long time since I filmed a reading vlog. Actually, this time last year I did a little run of them, but I haven't done one for a while, so really happy to be focusing on my reading for the next week or so. This week's reading vlog is going to be focused on final books. So Steph Loves, who I have watched the booktube videos of for a long time, does a readathon which is called Final Book Support Group, and it runs multiple times throughout the year. And I've always meant to take part, but I've never quite got round to it, or I've done a very half-hearted attempt. So I'm going to try and do a proper attempt for this week. Now, it actually starts tomorrow from when I'm filming this, which is a Sunday. So it starts Monday the 22nd of July. I'm not sure what the Monday date is. Does it say it on here? No. On the Monday after I film this. So it's meant to start on Monday and it runs through to the 28th of July. But the 28th of July is my birthday, and we have plans for my birthday weekend, so I'm not going to get much reading done then. So I figured I would start a day early because I'm not going to be reading on that weekend. So I figure that's okay, and I think that Steph would be very supportive of that. And I'm just really excited to get reading. I've got some time today. I'm going to be doing some chores around the house, which means I can get some reading done. So it then means that for the next sort of 6 days, something like that, I am going to be reading books towards the Final Book Support Group. Now, I will put the bingo board on the screen, which gives you an idea of the kinds of things that I might be thinking about for the bingo board over the course of this week. In terms of how many books I think I will get to, it's a great question. I don't know. I can sometimes get through a lot and sometimes not get through a lot. I don't have many plans in my week off. I'm in desperate need of some rest. So a lot of reading would be really good for me, but I also find resting really hard. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm hoping this might give me a bit of a focus for rest is the plan. So what I have done is I've made a spread in my reading journal, which I've spent the last week or so getting up to date with. Really happy because I actually have done that. I need to film a video on it. But I have sort of gone through each of the prompts and put some ideas for myself of books I could read for each of those prompts, and I thought we would go through those before I get into the actual reading. I have split my books into 3 different categories. So I have final books, which obviously in an ideal world would be what you were entirely reading, but I'm just not near the end of that many series. But anyway, there's a final books category. There's an getting up to date category. So that's where reading the book would bring me up to the one that's most recently released. So I figured that's another good place to be in this challenge. And then the other one is make progress, or what Steph calls continuation station. So I have a lot of books in this category. So to be honest, it might be that that's actually what I spend more of this week focusing on, but we'll see. So for what those books are, for final books, I have 3, and I have one of these as an audio and 2 are physical books. I do plan to get some chores done. I'm hoping I can go on some walks and stuff this week, and so audiobooks are going to be very useful for that. And I love listening to books on audio, so it should be all good. My audiobook option for this is The Sinister Mystery of the Mesmerizing Girl by Theodora Goss. This is the Athena Club series, which is a retelling of old stories such as Jekyll and Hyde, Frankenstein, etc., and it's usually the children of those characters. It also features Sherlock and Watson, is that his name? I don't know why I'm blanking on that. You can tell I'm really tired. I mean, I look really tired. I can see it in the camera, but anyway. So this is the 3rd and final book for this, and it's not a series that I love, unfortunately, even though I love the idea of it, especially the first one because it focuses on Jekyll and Hyde, which is a story that I really like, particularly a musical that I love and have been in, but unfortunately not one that I am obsessed with, but I'm interested enough to finish it out. I listen to these exclusively on audio, even though I know a lot of people really love the audio experience of this. I actually don't in general, but it's the easiest way for me to get through this. I don't think I would read it physically, so that is my audiobook option. And then the 2 physical options that I have are Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. This is meant to be mine and my friend Liz's July buddy read anyway. I think she'll get to it when we kind of mentioned it. I think we both acknowledged that maybe our buddy reading would not work for this, but I would be really keen to read it, and it's a duology, so it would be an easy wrap up. The first one, which is Next of Kin, is a really good story about a woman who's been in and out of foster care her whole life, and her mum has just had another baby, and she doesn't want the baby to be brought up on her own, so she decides to raise the baby kind of as her own rather than as a sister. but the care system means that she needs somebody else to live with her, and so she kind of gets placed by her social worker with another person whose sibling has been in and out of foster care, and he needs somewhere to live to kind of keep Luke, his brother, out of foster care. So it's a really good book. It's a really interesting story. And in Next to You, we get introduced, and in Next of Kin, we get introduced to the characters in Next to You. I'm really interested to see what it will be like, because the first one is so emotional and it deals with so many things. And I don't know if the second one is going to do that in the same way. So it should be interesting. And the other final book is another in a duology. So I think these ones would be good options for me, because, you know, we could get a few series off. This is Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. The first one is Secretly Yours, and it's not my favourite Tessa Bailey. It's incredibly steamy, but in a way that Julian, the main character, I was just not always entirely comfortable with him. But Unfortunately Yours, we're going to be looking at his sister. We are introduced to, I think her name is Natalie, in the first book in the series, and I'm pretty sure, is it like a sailor or something that she's hitting it off with in the first one, but I think it's going to be like a hate to lovers. She's wearing a wedding dress in it, so maybe they fake marry, which I would like. I do enjoy a fake marriage or a fake engagement, fake dating kind of thing, but I say I'm not into hate to lovers, but I can probably think of more enemies to lovers that I've enjoyed than not liked. I just basically don't like the hating game. It's a different category. But we'll see what I think of that, because as I say, Secretly Yours isn't my favourite Tessa Bailey. Those are my final books. And then for books where I need to get up to date based on what's been released. So the first one is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. This is the sequel to The Cheat Sheet. I don't own this one yet though. I have ordered it from the works and I'm waiting for my order to come in. I'm hoping it's going to come in this week. But The Cheat Sheet is a romance between an NFL player and a ballet teacher, and they've been like friends forever, but he's always had feelings for her. It's very cute. The thing I don't love about Sarah Adams's books is they are closed door romances, whereas I would much more read an open door romance. But I did really enjoy The Cheat Sheet. So the fact that this book is out and it's finally come to the works, because it's been out since like April, but we've just not had it in the works in the UK. So the fact that I can now get my hands on it, hopefully if my order comes in this week, could be a good option. But it's not been on my TBR that long, but it is one of my 2024 most anticipated releases, so I would like to read it. Then I have Murder at the Village Church by Victoria Walters. This is the third in the Deadly End mystery series, which is a cozy mystery series about a woman, Nancy, and her grandmother, Jane, and they run like a crime-themed bookstore in this place called Deadly End, and then they end up involved in their own cozy mysteries. And the second book in this series went really like off track from the first one. It like wasn't really related. We didn't really advance the stories that had been set up in the first. But the third one, from what I've seen from the setup at the end of the second, is going to give us some more juicy gossip, I think. So I think it's about time that I got to this one. And these are definitely summer read mysteries. They have really like bright, fun covers. We have Lore Olympus Volume 6, because it's unbelievable that I still haven't read this. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. It's a graphic novel series. It's amazing. I talk about it all the time, so I won't go on about it. But it's really bizarre that I've not read Volume 6. So I would like to get to that. Also, it's an easy read, so it would be good for this challenge. And then I have Skandar and the Chaos Trials, which I'm listening to at the moment, and is actually the first book I'm going to start with today, because I'm going to go and do some cleaning after this, and so an audiobook is a great option. And as I'm already in the middle of Skandar, that will be my focus for finishing. So this is a middle grade series about a boy named Skandar who has grown up on the mainland, but mainlanders, when they turn 13, get a chance to sit a hatchery exam to see whether they are destined to be a unicorn rider. And if they pass the hatchery exam, they get to go to the island to basically try and hatch a unicorn and then be raised and trained as a unicorn rider. And Kenna, Scar's older sister, fails the hatchery exam, even though Scar was absolutely convinced she would pass. But then he gets a chance, it's his turn, he turns 13, and he's supposed to take the hatchery exam, and then kind of gets like kidnapped and taken straight to the hatchery to bypass the exam. And then he hatches his unicorn, Scoundrel's Luck, and goes straight to the island. But he knows that something is not quite right because he doesn't take the hatchery exam. He also doesn't understand why Kenna, who he believed would pass, didn't pass. Got quite a complicated history, our Skandar, because his mum is no longer with us, and his dad suffers major PTSD from that, like serious depression. So very difficult upbringing. So going to the island has a lot of benefits for Skandar because he finds a found family. He's got these 3 amazing best friends. He's got this unicorn. But things are not what they seem. And this is the 3rd book in the series. It's a really fun middle grade. And I really like the audiobook experience of this. I would really, really recommend it. It's really fun. The audiobook narrator does an amazing job at narrating a very big, wide cast of characters. So that should be fun for me to prioritise. I don't know how much I've got left of it, actually, but if I could finish it today, that would be amazing. And then for books I need to make progress in. So as I said, there are a lot of these. So the first one is Meet Me in Hawaii by Georgia Toffolo. This is the 2nd in a series by somebody from Towie, and I don't watch Towie, but I picked up the first one like on a complete whim in the works for like £2, and I did really enjoy it. And like I feel like I maybe was not supposed to enjoy it, but I did. It was just a really fun, quick read. There's 4 books in the series, and each follow a different sister. And for these books, I have prioritized books I physically own rather than Kindle books, because I do have a lot of Kindle books, or ones where I would have to buy a book, because like as we can see, I don't need to buy any more books. So I'm prioritizing physical reads, and Meet Me in Hawaii has been on my TBR for a long time because I do own that one. So I thought that would be good, because I sort of need to make a decision if I'm going to buy the rest of the books in the series or, you know, DNF the series. So that would be a good one. That should be a quick read as well. Next up is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the 2nd in the Brown Sisters trilogy. I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown quite a long time ago. So it would be really good if I could carry on. So in that one, we met all 3 sisters, Chloe, Danny and Eve. And I really enjoyed Chloe's story. It had a lot of like chronic illness rep, and she basically was like moving out and living on her own. And she moved into a block of flats where there was a very sexy superintendent. You know, fun time. But it would be good to carry on, because I think this one and the 3rd one are actually a lot of people's favourites in the series. So it would be interesting to see what I think personally of that. Then I have a graphic novel, which is Vox Machina Volume 2. This is based on the Critical Role Dungeons and Dragons series, which I don't watch. I'm not massively into Dungeons and Dragons, but I like it enough. And this is sort of me trying to like introduce myself a bit more into the Dungeons and Dragons world. I really enjoyed the first one. It's very in-depth, it covers a lot. And so I thought it would be good to just carry on. Again, it's a graphic novel, so an easy win for this challenge. I have Mixed Signals by BK Borison. This is the 3rd in the Love Light Farms quadrology. That's not a word, is it? I don't know, but anyways, the 4-book series. And the 4th book, Business Casual, is out this month. It is a romance series. Each book is set in a different season, and it's following a set of friends, basically. So you get a different relationship in each one. I don't love this series as much as I thought I would, and I find it really hard to pinpoint why that is. But I just read In the Weeds, which is the 2nd one, and it took me longer than a just 300-page romance novel should take to read. So I would kind of like to just finish out the 4, to be honest. So that could be a good option, but I think it will put me in a semi-reading slump, so might not be one I prioritise for this challenge. And I have a middle grade, which is 3 Keys by Kelly Yang. This is the 2nd in a series. I think it's called the Front Desk series. And I read Front Desk last year and really enjoyed it. It's about Mia, whose family emigrates to the US, and they agree to run a motel in order to, you know, kind of give them work to stay. And Mia, despite only being 10 or 11, is very involved in the running of the hotel and the guests that they look after there. But there are a lot of challenges here around being immigrants in the US, and Mia's parents have a lot of family or friends that they need to kind of host in the motel to give them somewhere safe to stay, but they're really worried about the boss of the motel finding out about this. It's a really difficult read for a middle grade, but I think is a very important one. My only comment would be, I didn't feel it needed to carry on. I felt Front Desk really worked as its own story, and so I'm interested to see whether this is a series that I would want to continue or whether I would be happy to let it go. So that would be a good one for this week. And we have Heartless by Elsie Silver. This might be quite high up in my list of books to read this week, to be honest, because I loved Flawless. I only gave it 4 stars. I don't remember why it wasn't a 5-star, but I loved the experience reading this. This is the first book I ever tabbed. It's such a fun time. It's really well written, very fun cowboy romance. And each of the 5 books in this series, we follow different siblings or friends from characters we meet in Flawless, and a lot of people's favourite is Heartless. So there may need to be a one this week. We have Wildfire by Hannah Grace, which is the sequel to Icebreaker. I really enjoyed Icebreaker. I read it earlier this year and it's quite long. It's like 400 pages. I don't think Wildfire is as long, but I really enjoyed it. And I think people are really critical of Hannah Grace unnecessarily, to be honest. I think it's a really good, well-written romance. It has really good steamy scenes. It has a really good story. It has, in my opinion, quite necessary drama for the story. And I am somebody that doesn't like a lot of drama in romance books. Yeah, I thought it was really good. So the first one is a hockey romance. So it's following Nate, who's on the hockey team, and then Stas, who is an ice skater, and they end up having to skate on the same rink. It's a kind of enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers. And I'm pretty sure that Wildfire is following Russ, who is a sort of quiet character with a really, really difficult backstory that we meet in the first one. But it's set in a summer camp, and that's so me. I like really love to read summer camp romances, so I'm really keen to read this one. But also the third one is coming out quite soon. I just pre-ordered the special edition from Waterstones because needed those sprayed editors. Then for another audiobook, I have The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman, which is the second in the Thursday Murder Club series. I think this would be a really good audiobook for this week. Very like easy listening, even though it obviously covers murders, but it's a cozy mystery series. The audiobook narration is really good. It's about basically these 4 friends who live in a retirement home, and they have this kind of little club where they look at cold cases that were previously closed and try and work out whether they should be closed or not, and then they end up in their own one. So typical cozy mystery. I'm sorry that the lighting in here is so bad. I feel like I opened the window to try and let some light in, but I think it has maybe made things worse. Anyway, but yes, I think that this one would be a fun option for this week. I have, I Think Our Son Is Gay, Volume 4. It's a graphic novel series about a boy who doesn't realise that he's maybe gay, but his mum is realising that, but it's not okay in their society to be gay. So it's trying to work out how she supports her son while also keeping him safe from people, including his dad, who would maybe judge him otherwise. As this is a manga, it's very short and it's the last one I currently own, but number 5 is out, so it would be good to make some progress. We have Space Boy Volume 3. I read the first 2, I'm pretty sure this time last year. I think I got them for my birthday. This is a really fun graphic novel series which has many, many volumes, but I own the first 3, so it would be good to read the third one, where we have a character who is forced to come back to Earth having lived in space, and she's cryogenically frozen to send her back, and so she has kind of not grown up or anything in those 30 years since she came back to Earth, and things have really moved on, and it's about her trying to settle back into life on Earth. But also there's a mysterious boy, maybe Space Boy, and she's got to kind of work out where he maybe fits into her story, and that's kind of where we get to at the end of the second one. Then I have the Tea Dragon Festival, which is the second in the Tea Dragon trilogy, which is a middle grade graphic novel. These are very easy reads. I own the third one as well. I could totally finish them out this week, but they're really cute. There's basically we follow some characters who look after tea dragons. It's like not a lot happens, it's just really cute. So after 20 minutes of filming, I better crack on. And I've not mentioned, here we go, carrying on talking. So what I have not mentioned is the actual bingo board in terms of like where I'm planning to cross things off. But I feel like other than special edition, which I suppose Wildfire would count for that because it's got sprayed edges, so actually we could go with that. I think that these books do cover all of those, so it more depends on what I read over the week as to what I cross off on the bingo board, which is why I've more just spoken to you about what's on the TBR. But to start with, I'm going to go and clean the kitchen, and I'm going to listen to Skandar and see if we can maybe finish that today, depending on how far through I currently am, which I don't know. happy Monday, which is technically the actual start of this readathon, but I've already finished my first book, so we're going well. So yesterday and this morning I read Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. I decided to pick this one up because it is a final book, so that's the point of the readathon, right? So it's really good progress, I feel, to, you know, have made it through a final book and for that to be the way to start my week. Also, I read the first one for this like in this equivalent week last year, so that kind of feels really like full circle to finish this one. And I just felt it was nice momentum, you know, to start with the final book. So in this book, we're following Natalie and August. And Natalie, who we know from the first book in this series. Do I think you need to have read the first one for this? No, but there is a lot of setup from the first one in it. So I think you would benefit from having read the first one. Characters from the first one are in it. And also Natalie and August do meet in the first book. So I think it would benefit you to have read it. So Natalie's family run a vineyard in California. And Natalie has never really felt part of the family. She has always been the outsider. Her relationship with her father is really strange. He's actually left by the time we get to the first book. And, you know, it's been a difficult upbringing for her. She doesn't have a loving relationship with her family. So before the events of this book start, she's moved to New York to work in investment. And what we know from the beginning of the first book is that something happened. She made a really bad deal and she's had to come back home. She had no money. Her engagement broke up. Her life is kind of reached rock bottom, and we really see that in book one. In book two, Natalie is trying to turn things around. She wants to get back out there. She wants to escape Napa. She needs money in order to do that. And she is from a family with money, even though her mum doesn't really have money right now, but her dad does have money. It's just he's left them and they don't really have a relationship with him. But there was a trust fund set up in her name, so she wants access to the trust fund. But the archaic rules of the trust fund, in the way that these things often go, mean that she needs to be married in order to access the trust fund. And neither her or her mum want to ask her dad for the money because they don't have a relationship with him. They don't want to have to contact him. So Natalie's got to figure out what to do. And she's met this guy, August, who she fights with. It's really fiery arguments. She's thrown wine in his face twice. But for some reason, she thinks, okay, maybe you could be a potential option. He also is running a vineyard, but it's terrible. He's like the rock bottom vineyard. He does not know how to make wine. This is not his background at all. And we find out later on that he is an ex-Navy SEAL, and it was his best friend Sam's hope and dream to open this vineyard once he left the Navy. And Sam dies in battle. And so August has decided to open up this winery for Sam. But he doesn't know anything about wine. And so he's doing a pretty terrible job. Natalie believes she could help him, and August needs money to help put money into the vineyard, but he needs somebody to co-sign a loan with him in order to do that. So they have mutual benefits for entering into a fake marriage. This marriage is like a proper marriage. They full on get married. But what we know from the beginning is, despite the fact this is very fiery and it is enemies to lovers, but August has feelings from Natalie from day one. They were actually going to hook up in book one and they don't because of this like fiery argument, but they are attracted to each other. That's ultimately where this started from. And I do think that that's a benefit. And Tessa writes it in the opening about how she wanted to write an enemies to lovers, but she felt like it needed to be an enemies to lovers, where if there was going to be this much arguing, you fundamentally believe that these characters wanted to be together. And I do think she has nailed that throughout this. We know that August is obsessed with Natalie, and obsessed really is the word. It's very, very possessive language, which is the same as the first one. So I think, if I think about it, so I've read 5 Tessa Bailey books, and it probably is generally the type of male main character that Tessa writes is a possessive man. But I have really felt it in this duology, much more so than the Bellinger sisters duology. I think that this one, August he's like, jealousy is a big theme of this. It's incredibly possessive. They don't want either of the other one to have basically access to anybody. So if you like possessive characters, then I think that this would be a good one for you to read. The steamy scenes are excellent because Tessa writes the best steamy scenes, to be honest. Like, I read a lot of steamy books and I do think Tessa's are the best. Again, if you like possessive language, that is a lot of it. There's a lot of dirty talk. That's a really prominent part of it. But they are frequent. There are a lot of them and it's a big focus of the book, okay? Like, Tessa openly, you know, you can know that if you have a read of the biography of the author in the back, you know, it's the type of book that Tessa writes. And I think that in the main, this book is fun, right? I devoured it in probably 6 hours, something like that. Like, it's a really fast read. It's 350 pages, very quick, really easy to fly through. But as with the first one, my issue with this is it's hard to believe that these characters would potentially be together. And in the case of August and Natalie, I would question whether they should be, because they're so fiery and they argue all the time. Like, there's a lot of arguments in here, and there was at one point where I was like, this is making me quite uncomfortable to read about this kind of level of argument. And they clearly love each other, and I think Tessa's done a cracking job at writing that these two characters clearly love each other. But their love is partly built on fire and arguing with each other, and that's still something that they speak about in the epilogue. So I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't know that I can get on board. If you've been around here a while, you'll know that I'm very much a golden retriever type male fan, and I just don't know that I can get on board with romances that have this much fighting in them. Because whilst, yeah, okay, in this one, the male main character is completely besotted with Natalie. He would never do anything to hurt her or go against her intentionally. But some people who read this could interpret that in the wrong way and end up with somebody who they think is like August, but is actually just really horrible. So that's kind of like the borderline walk for me. So I'm giving this book 3.5 stars, which is the same as I gave Secretly Yours, because ultimately I think they're a good time and I'm probably just too serious, if I'm being really honest. Like, as I was writing the review for this one, I was like, do I need to be this serious about books? Can I not just enjoy them? And it's really making me question about me reviewing books and stuff, because I get so in my head about it. But anyway, my mental health struggling a bit today, so we're going to move past that. So book 1 done, very happy about it. In terms of what I'm going to read next, I actually don't know. So yesterday I listened to a bit of Skandar, but we were cleaning the house, which was, well, we were cleaning the kitchen and then Stuart cleaned the bathroom. So that was good because it needed to be done. But it meant that, like, every time, like, Stuart would come down every few minutes to talk to me about stuff, and so I had to just keep pausing the book. So, and I actually wasn't as far through the book as I thought I was, but also I just got interrupted way too many times. It's fine, the cleaning was the priority, not the reading, but it just meant that, yeah. So I've not really made a lot of progress in Skandar, but at least we are 1 book down. But Skandar is on audio, so I will just pick it up throughout the week when I need an audiobook. In terms of my next physical read, the other final book that I have that's physical is Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. I don't know whether I need a palette cleanser or something a bit easier in between. It's going to be controversial to say this, but I don't know that I can read another romance right after this. I think maybe I need a little bit of distance. I might read Murder at the Village Church by Victoria Walters. That would probably be a very easy one to get through. That's a murder mystery, but I've also got a number of graphic novels, mangas, which would be good to get through. So I won't make a decision now because I'm not going to read now. I think I need to go and write some more thank you cards from our wedding. I think if I could get that done today, I would feel like I've achieved something. I find rest really, really hard. And I know that I have to rest. It's the point of having this week off, but I really, really struggle with it. And so I still need to feel I've done something like practical. So I'm going to go and write those thank you cards, I think, and so that I feel I can tick something off as like having achieved that today. And so I'll let you know when I have another reading update for you. So it's been a while since I filmed all of those clips. They were back on my birthday week, which at time of filming was like 3 weeks ago. And I thought about scrapping the rest of this footage because I just hadn't felt like finishing out the video, but I just edited it all and I was like, actually there's a really decent amount here. There's some really fun stuff from my birthday weekend where I had a great time, and I filmed these clips at the St. Albans Comedy Garden and stuff. So I thought, no, it's fine. I'll go ahead, I'll wrap up these last few books and finish it out. I am filming this on like the hottest day for a while. It's 32 degrees right now in the UK, which is very warm for us. I know it's not warm for the rest of you, but it's very warm for us. We don't live somewhere that copes, and I've had to turn my wonderful little fan off to film this. So I'm gonna try and do it relatively quickly so that I can put it back on. So whilst I didn't update you on this, I did finish a number of books for this challenge, which is great. So I finished Murder at the Village Church, and it turns out that's the final book, which went even better than I expected, because I thought this was going to be a really long, open-ended cozy mystery series, but Victoria has moved on to writing like smuttier romances now, so I guess maybe she felt it was time to wrap this series up, which I'm maybe a bit surprised by because cozy mystery series usually go on for a while. But I think with this one, this was a good way to wrap up the series. I'm not really sure how much further it could have gone. I think Victoria ended it at a really nice point. So it's obviously difficult for me to talk too much about this one, given that it is the third book in a series. But basically, there are some things that happen in the first one. In the second book, we take a bit of a segue away from that, to be honest. We don't really deal with things linked to the first one. And then the third one goes back to some things from the first one. So the first one is called Murder at the House on the Hill. And the third one is referencing a lot back to that house. It's referencing characters we meet from the first one. So you really do need to have read at least the first one to be able to read this book. I think you could maybe skip number 2, but some stuff happens at the end of 2, which leans into 3. And yeah, I think that this was as enjoyable as the other 3. I liked that we were back with the mystery from number 1. I liked that the time I invested in the first book was being rewarded in book 3. And we did have some twists and turns that I didn't see coming. I will admit, I never really see things coming. I don't predict them. It's just not something that I like choose to do in a book. So things are often a surprise to me when it comes to mysteries. But yeah, I didn't really see it coming and I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars, and that's what I gave the rest of the series, and I felt that this was a good way to end. We did get some resolving for some relationships in this one that I really liked. I maybe would have liked it a bit more, but that's because I'm a romance girly, and if any romance could be put into a book, I would want to see it. That is not what this book is. It's not that Victoria can't write romance, because she can, but that's not what this series was trying to do. And I think ultimately, because it was hinted at, I would have liked it basically to have become a romance book. But anyway, if you like a very light touch cozy mystery, I think, and you really like these kind of British settings, you like small British towns, which is ultimately what this is. We do go to London in the third one. I think we go to London in the second one as well, but like we do some trips out of London. But I think if you like that type of mystery, you might enjoy this. As I say, gave it 3 stars. I had a good time and really great feeling to have finished off that series. So real win. I have also finished Skandar 3. I don't feel I need to talk about this one. When I edited it, I did an outstanding job at explaining Skandar, which I think is quite a complicated series to explain. So I was really happy with that. So I'm not going to repeat myself. I really enjoyed this one though. I think this is my favourite one of the 3 that I have read, because the second one, I think just it didn't deal with as many things as I would have liked dealt with, to be honest. But the third one, we really build on, so, and it's getting quite like tough to listen to, you know? We're getting some really difficult relationships happening. Some stuff happens in this one which is like a lot to deal with. We've got some really interesting relationships developing. We also are finally getting a little bit of progress with Skandar and Flo. And again, if I can get a little bit of romance in a story, I'm here for it. And this was like, I've been waiting for the Skandar and Flo situation to develop. So I really liked that. We also had progress for Mitchell and Jamie's relationship. And I really love how effortlessly this book has LGBTQ plus references just made. It's not a big deal ever. And I really like that about this book. So I really enjoyed this. I'm really excited for the 4th one. Very pleased to have made progress. Once I finished Skandar, I could have then started listening to whatever the third one's called, Sinister Mystery of the Travelling Girl, the third Athena Club book. but I didn't fancy it. So I picked up The Man Who Died Twice, which is the second in the Thursday Murder Club series. I don't know, 20% or something into this right now because I don't listen to my audiobooks massively concentrated. I do like 10-minute stints every couple of days. With the Olympics on, it's like thrown my schedule of reading, and I've not really read a lot the last couple of weeks. And on my commutes, I haven't really been reading. So I've not made masses of progress in that, but I'm enjoying it fine enough so far. I personally really think these books benefit from being listened to on audio. I try to read the first one physically in part, and oh my goodness, I can't do it. The chapters are so short, it's so difficult to follow. Whereas the audiobook narrator does a really good job with the audiobook. So I definitely recommend that you listen to these on audio. If you struggle to read the first one, the audio might be the best option for you. But yeah, so I'm in the middle of that. And then after I finished Murder at the Village Church, I then started reading Meet Me in Hawaii, which is the second book in the Meet Me series by Georgia Toffolo that I talked about at the beginning of this video. I will be honest, I did not remotely finish it in the week of this vlog. I finished it last night on the 11th of August, but I figured I would talk about it here because I'm not filming any other video where I would talk about it. And ultimately it's kind of linked in with this whole thing of making progress with series, etc. So this is the second book in that series, and I really enjoyed this book. We follow Marley, so it follows a group of 4 friends, and Marley has moved to Hawaii to escape her parents because her brother dies from cancer, and her parents just stop living and they stop knowing how to be a parent to Marley, and are just kind of, you know, living through the day, and they're really protective of Marley and they won't let her go back out and surf, and she just feels she hasn't really got a life since Koa died. And she wants to escape that, so she escapes to Hawaii, and we kind of meet her like 10 years after she has escaped Devon. And she is working at a surf school, and there's a millionaire called Todd whose charity, it brings kids who have really difficult lives over to Hawaii for like short holidays to learn surfing and just get a break from real life, really. And this is like this is the first time he's trying to do it. He's trying to get the charity to do this. So we're meeting Todd as he's bringing the first group of kids out to the surf school to like test out people visiting the surf school from the charity. And there's so much backstory here. We have so much backstory for Marley, so much backstory for Todd. The 4 kids who are like coming over for the holiday, 2 of them, we get a lot of backstory for them, especially for Tara. And I think this book is just trying to do a lot, and it does it pretty well. I don't think it's the best writing ever. Georgia Toffolo doesn't write it on her own. She does have like a ghostwriter. This is not the best writing in a romance novel ever, but what it tries to do, I think it does really well. It does cover a lot within the space of the time that you're reading. I really felt for these characters. I really wanted them to be together. I felt very emotional a lot of times reading it, which you're supposed to feel. It is a bit repetitive. You know, there were times where, you know, one of the characters would be like, we can't be together, and then 2 seconds later they'd be like, we can be together. And that happens a lot. They flip-flop a lot throughout the story, and that does get a little bit tiresome. But even then, I still had a great time. I don't know what to tell you. It's one of those books where I'm not sure I was supposed to enjoy it as much as I did, but I did have a really good time reading it. It was a very fast read. Once I was really settled into it, I took a big break after I read the first sort of 100 pages or so, and I flew through the last 200 in the last 2 days. So I had a great time, so 4 stars. And that really is my reading update for you. Thank you for bearing with me with this video. Let me know if you want to see more of these. I'm very hit and miss with reading vlogs and when I'm in the mood for them. I'm always keen to film more and then regret it when I start filming. So let me know if you like these, if there's anything in particular you want to see, or any particular challenges or anything like that you would be interested in seeing from me. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like, and if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe. In the description, I will have a link to my Instagram and my Goodreads if you want to check out any more content from me, and I'll have a link to my vintage store if you want to check out any of the books that I plan to sell. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video.